Okay, this is note 6.5, writing quadratic equations. Notice at the top there are three different equations or forms for each of those. We have the vertex and the root that we're going to be the top two we'll be working on today. Now, whenever you're reading, like for example on number 1, you want to look for the key words that would tell you which equation that you're going to use. In this case, the key word here is roots, so that tells me that we're going to use root form. Now, what we want to do so that we can keep everything straight is to write the equation down first. So the equation being y equals a parentheses x minus root 1 close parentheses, open parentheses, x minus root 2. The next thing I want to do is label all my parts. First off, our two roots, we have root 1 and root 2. And then you see that the f of 0 equals 8. Well, f of 0 is taking the place of the variable x. So that will always be our x value. That means this is our y value. Now I have all of those four parts. I can plug them in and solve for my unknown. So I do know my y. Y is 8 equals a parentheses. I do know my x. It is 0 minus r1 is 4. And again, x is 0 minus r2, which is a minus 1. A minus makes a plus. Okay, now we clean it up. I've got 8 equals a, this set of parentheses, the first set, 0 minus 4 is a minus 4. Second set is 0 plus 1, which is 1. Now we always know that parentheses mean multiply, so negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And then again, the a is touching it, so that means multiply, so it's negative 4a. And equals 8. Now to solve for a, I would divide by negative 4. And that would give me a equals a negative 2. Now I take that newfound knowledge, that a, and I'm plugging it back into my original equation. I'm going to put my x's and my y's back in as x's and y's, not substituting them in for numbers. It'll actually be x's and y's, and I'll have my equation. So in my original equation, y equals a, which is negative 2. We solved for it. Parentheses, put my x back in, minus r1, which was 4. X back in, minus r2, which is a negative 1, so that makes this a minus, which is a plus 1. And that is my equation. Okay, same thing on number 2. I see the word root, so I know I'm going to use the root formula. Root formula being y equals a parentheses x minus r1 x minus r2. Okay, a double root means twice. So it's two of the same thing. So 4 and another 4. So I've got root 1 and root 2 of the same root. Again, labeling my f of negative 1, which is x and y. Now I'm ready to plug them into my equation and solve for my a. So y is 5 equals a parentheses x is negative 1 minus my root 1, which is 4. And then again, x is negative 1 minus my root 2, which is also a 4. Now I clean up the two sets of parentheses. So negative 4 and negative 1 gives me negative 5. Same thing in the second set, negative 5. Bring down my a. my equals, and my 5. Now I've got all multiplication on the right side, so negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25a equals 5. To solve for a, I divide by 25. And a equals 5 over 25 reduces, 5 goes into both, so that's 1 over 5. I'm taking that a value, putting it right back into my original equation, putting my x and y back in. So I have y equals a, which is 1/5, parentheses, put my x back in, minus root 1 was 4, x minus root 2 is also 4. That is complete. Okay, taking a look at number 3 now. Number 3, it's a graph, but I have my roots already present. Now, this is my y-axis, so these dots are not supposed to be there. So my roots are also called zeros, which are also called x-intercepts, and I have 2 of them on this one. One of them is right here at an x value of 1, and I have one right here. The x value is 3. So my roots are at 1 and 3. So root 1, root 2, x, y. Root formula, y equals a, parentheses, x minus root 1, and x minus root 2. Plugging in now, y is negative 12 equals a, parentheses, x is 0, minus root 1, which is 1, 0 again for my x value, minus root 2, which is 3. Cleaning up the parentheses, 0 minus 1 is a minus 1, 0 minus 3 is a minus 3. Bring down my a, my equals negative 12. Now I've got multiplication on the right side. Negative 1 times negative 3 is a positive 3. A equals a negative 12. Divide by negative 3 to solve for a. A equals negative 4. Take that, plug it back in for a in my original equation, and put my x's and y's back in. So I've got y equals my a, which is negative 4, parentheses, put my x back in, minus root 1, which is 1, and x back in, minus root 2, which is 3. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is if I had a different form, which we'll have on the back side, but before we flip to the back, at the top you see vertex form. Now in vertex form, I want to add this in. Put a set of parentheses, h, k. Those are the points that represent my vertex, and in that very order. And they match up, as you see, with the formula. Okay, so now when we flip to the back, we see that it's wanting vertex form. It's saying, in this case, my vertex is at 3, 1. So if I label them like we just did, that's h, k. Again, just like you did on the front, this is x, y. And now we're going to use our vertex form, which is y equals a, parentheses, x minus h, all squared, plus k. Okay. We plug in our knowns now. Y is negative 13 equals, we don't know our a. X is negative 4. Okay, oh, sorry. Negative 4. And then minus my h, which is 3, all squared, plus my k, which is 1. Clean up the parentheses. Negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7 squared. Bring down the rest. Okay, now we have to do, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, that PEMDAS. So exponents come next. Negative 7 squared is 49 times a is 49a. Plus 1 equals negative 13. Solving for a, so I have to move that plus 1 across. Becomes a negative 1. Negative 1 minus 13 is negative 14 equals 49a. Solving for a, we have to divide by 49. And a equals negative 14 over 49 reduces, 7 will go into both, to 2 over 7. I'm going to take that, plug it right back into the beginning, put my x and y back in. So y equals, my a was negative 2 over 7. Put my x back in, minus my h, which was 3, squared, plus my k, which was plus 1. Okay. Number 5, same thing. Number 5 gives me my vertex. So h, k, x, y. Vertex formula, y equals a, parentheses, x minus h squared plus k. Plug in all of our knowns. Y is 6 equals a, x is 5, minus h, which is a minus 1, a minus make a plus. That's squared. Plus k, which in this case, k is negative 6. Clean it up, parentheses, 5 plus 1 is 6, squared, bring down the rest. It's a minus 6, an a equals and a 6. Now we have 6 squared. 6 squared is 36 times a is 36a minus 6 equals 6. Solving for a, so I got to get rid of that minus 6. I take it across. So plus 6. 6 plus 6 is 12 equals 36a. Solving for a, divide by 36. And a equals, it reduces 12 over 36. 12 goes into both of those. 12 goes into 12 one time. Goes into 36 3 times. Gonna take that, plug it back into the original, put my x and y back in. So y equals, my a is 1/3. Okay. Put my x back in, minus my h, which is a minus 1. So a minus makes a plus. 1 squared. And plus my k, which is a negative 6. All right, and finally, we have a vertex form with one that is actually graphed. So we have to find our vertex. In this case, it gives it to us, but if it didn't give it to us, we would know to go over, to get to my vertex, go over negative 2 and down 2. So it'd be negative 2, comma, negative 2, h, k, x, y. Vertex formula is y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. Plugging in what we know, y is 1 equals a parentheses x is 0 minus h, which is a minus 2, that makes a plus 2, squared, plus k, which is a minus 2. Cleaning it up, parentheses, 0 plus 2 is 2, squared. Bring down everything else. So bring down my negative 2, bring down my a, my equals, and my 1. Now, I got 2 squared, which is 4, times a is 4a, minus 2 equals 1. Now, a lot of people try to combine the 4a and the negative 2. You can't do that. They're not like terms. Solving for a, so I got to take the negative 2 across, so it becomes a plus 2. 1 plus 2 is 3 equals 4a. Divide by 4. And a equals 3/4. Take that, plug it back in the original. Put my x's and y's back in. Y equals my a, which is 3/4. Parentheses, put my x back in. Minus my h, which is a minus 2, so that makes a plus 2. Squared plus k, which is a minus 2. That is my answer. The work you'll be doing is A6-5. You're going to do numbers 1, 2, 5, 9, and 11. This concludes the notes for 6-5.